Hello and welcome. You're watching Global Lens on News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna. Our big focus on the show today is on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day visit to the UAE and the just inaugurated Swaminarayan Temple in Abu Dhabi, the city's very first Hindu temple. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the BAPS Swaminarayan Temple in Abu Dhabi just a short while ago. This is the first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. The inauguration of the 108-foot-high temple marks a significant moment for the Hindu community in the UAE, for the Indians at large, and most certainly for the bilateral relationship between India and the United Arab Emirates. Now, this temple has been built in the traditional Nagara style. Its front panel depicts universal values, stories of harmony from different cultures, Hindu spiritual leaders and avatars spread over a 27-acre complex. This temple has been built at a cost of 700 crore rupees. The temple premises also house a visitor center, library, classroom, prayer room, community center, amphitheater, a playground, garden, books and gift shops, as well as a food court. The external facade has been made using pink sandstone from Rajasthan, and Italian marbles have been used in the interiors. A total of 20,000 tons of stone and marble were shipped in 700 containers for this temple. As we said, it's been built at a cost of 700 crore rupees, and half of this land was actually donated by the President of the UAE himself. All right, we are waiting for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to deliver a speech as he continues his guided tour of this grand temple that has just been inaugurated by him in Abu Dhabi. Like we said, a big moment for the Indian community in Abu Dhabi and the UAE. To talk about that, we are now joined by Professor Swaran Singh, who teaches at the School of International Studies at the Jawaharlal Nehru University. In a moment, we're also hoping to be joined by Ambassador Meera Shankar and Ambassador Virendra Gupta. Professor Swaran Singh, welcome to Global Lens. Thanks for joining us. This moment is significant at so many levels. As we've reported, this is Abu Dhabi's first Hindu temple. It's a big moment for the Hindu community, for the larger Indian community in the UAE, which is 3.3 million strong. And you would agree with me that this also marks a significant milestone in the bilateral relationship between India and the UAE.
Clearly, Neha, first of all, thanks for having me on your program. This is a clear reflection of India's changing image around the world, primarily as a country which is rising very rapidly as an economy, but then with the economic power also becoming increasingly capable and having leverages to showcase its ancient traditions, civilization, culture, philosophies, and so on. And that is reflected in the way people of Indian origin and Indian citizens world over feeling increasingly enthusiastic. They're feeling increasingly encouraged to also feel great about their Indian identity, Indian legacies, Indian traditions, Indian heritage. And some of these things existed around the world. For example, Swaminarayan Temple is a movement that goes back to 19th century. They have been present world over. But this new enthusiasm and new, I think, capabilities of India and Indians is making this much more a celebration, much more a visibility. And likewise, I must also lay an equal credit on the part of host country here, in this case UAE, just like several other countries that are host or home now to Indian people there, that they have also increasingly from 70s seen the entire Middle East had transformed itself once oil was found, and there was a sudden economic transformation gradually followed by social transformation and now increasingly political transformation. We can see things changing in UAE and Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, for example, and they have also become increasingly self-confident and receptive to this new India. and the new Indian people there who are becoming increasingly conscious of their heritage and want to build more monuments, temples, clubs, and everything that takes for them to feel at home in their new country, new place where they're staying. So this is a continuation of a larger transformation, and I think what is the cherry on top of the cake here is the enormous bilateral bonhomie between the two top leaders that are then able to maximize this acceleration or the pace of change, which is visible already happening both in India and in Middle East, and that the fact that top leaders are able to treat each other as brothers, as they repeatedly refer to each other, makes it much more a matter of celebration, much more easily possible to achieve things like that. And I assume that temple in Abu Dhabi will be just one of the several things that we will see happening in coming times as India becomes more visible, more acceptable, more leveraged. And so also people of Indian origin and Indian citizens around the world become much more connected to India and, of course, much more proud of their own heritage and traditions, willing to showcase and sustain that great tradition that India has had. And therefore, I think there's a whole lot of factors that go together in and this becoming a kind of a milestone, as you mentioned, Neha, in that sense, as one important step, which will be really replicated, I believe, in many other countries, in many other cities. We particularly felt so enthralled by the global Aarti, for example, how several temples around the world, in several cities around the dozens and dozens of places, are simultaneously connecting and joining that Indian Prime Minister is seen also part that worship in the new temple in Abu Dhabi. So to me, this is an important milestone, but this is part of the larger transformation, which will continue to unfold in coming times as well. And I am very hopeful things will keep moving in this direction as increasingly we are saying that the Indian juggernaut is now kind of on the move. And more countries are beginning to engage India from that perspective. Abu Dhabi has several, attractions in India. I mean, they have to really now transition from fossil fuel economies to green economies and so on. And, in that sense, India is a great partner. India is the fastest growing economy, so good destination for investments. So a whole lot of complementarities exist, which also make this transformation much more possible, much more easy to take it forward to. But I'm sure the credit particularly lies at the top leadership on both sides to build that mutual understanding so that these positive forces which are unfolding on both sides can be made more complementary and maximize benefit and comfort for both sides, both in UAE and larger Middle East and for India. So Indians will feel increasingly connected to India in terms of intersocietal relations. They are part of India's growth story, but they are also part of the growth story of countries in which they are living. For example, Indians are no longer now known in Middle East as only blue collar workers. They are into education sector, into healthcare, into hydrocarbons, into hospitals, so many other high skilled jobs they are increasingly involved in. They are also now seen as a relatively prosperous group of people. And of course, they are a largest community of overseas people in several of these countries, including in UAE. So in that sense, it's a very interesting story which is unfolding. As Prime Minister said, UAE and India are together writing a new chapter in the future of how global leadership would be unfolding itself to deal with challenges around the world. But for that, I think Indian community particularly has great to celebrate as they become increasingly confident and comfortable in wherever they are, and therefore they will be much more productive in the case of both the host countries advantages and of course advantages for India, which receives very large amounts of remittances every year.
Absolutely. Quite right, sir. This is a new chapter indeed. And it's interesting you say that the Indian juggernaut is on the move. This is going to be replicated elsewhere in other countries too, you believe, and that this milestone that has been marked today with the inauguration of this temple is part of the larger transformation story that we are witnessing. Ambassador Meera Shankar is also with us at this point. Ambassador Shankar, Professor Swaran Singh has made some interesting and important points. He says that, this is in a sense a reflection and a manifestation of the new India, where even the Indian diaspora in these countries is now much more confident about its identity, its cultural heritage. We know that they're contributing to the economies of these countries, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship. As you and Professor have pointed out, we receive a huge amount of remittances from these countries. And also, he talks about, how the bonhomie that we've seen between the leadership of India and the Arab world, in particular the UAE, has also played a very big role in the transformation that we've seen of this entire relationship. Throughout this trip, Prime Minister Modi and the President of the UAE have referred to each other as their brother, as we know that half of the land for this temple, in fact, was, given by the President himself.
Yes, I think, I have been one of those who has always believed that relationships between countries are driven by national interest, and that leaders make a difference at the margin. But here with the UAE and many of the Gulf countries, I would say that personal relationships matter more than they do in other countries, because so much of decision making in these countries flows directly from the top leadership. And so I think that I would qualify what I say by pointing out that with the Gulf countries, I think there is a premium on the degree of personal relationship and trust that leaders have. The Indian community has certainly risen in the sense that instead of only being in low-paying jobs, many of them have risen up the professional hierarchies in these countries. And secondly, many are also entrepreneurs, bringing investment and business to these countries. So I think that overall, because of the growing prosperity of the Indian overseas community, that they also become more visible, more influential. I saw that in America, where I would say the Indian American community had come of age, and it was taking a much more active role in public life in the United States. And it was recognized as a model community which earned higher than the average and had strong family values. So, the Indian American community, in a sense, reflected this new prosperity, because a lot of the Indians who migrated to the US were basically very talented, highly educated. Now, in the UAE and the Gulf countries, it's a mix. There's a highly educated middle class, but there's also a working class, and which is probably much larger in number. But for the families of these working class people, I mean, it means a lot that they are able to remit back home. And you see the prosperity of many states like Kerala, which is based on the remittances which their overseas community sends back home. So, yes, it is a reflection also of the growing role that the overseas Indian community plays.
Well, most certainly, the overseas Indian community is a strong, robust, vibrant community that is significantly contributing to India's growing ties with these countries around the globe, and indeed are contributing to the economies of those countries as well. As has been pointed out, they're no longer just blue-collar workers. In many countries, they are in fact amongst the most prosperous communities now. Therefore, it really shouldn't come as a surprise to us that they're more assertive, they're more visible, they have a greater say, they're more influential. Like Ambassador Shankar said, look at the Indian American community, for instance. Many would agree that they now have a voice in how the system works, including in the American election. We've seen how many candidates of Indian origin have run for president in the United States. All right, I need to take a quick break here on the show. I'll request my guests to stay on with me. We'll be back with much more on the other side.
From fragile 5 to top 5, from a laggard to a leader, India under Modi has reimagined the world order. Presenting the second edition of TV9, What India Thinks Today. Summit theme, India poised for the next big leap. Listen to Prime Minister Modi unveil his vision for Viksit Bharat at News9 Global Summit, a TV9 network initiative.
Welcome back. You're watching Global Lens on News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna, and we're discussing Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the UAE on a day when there has been a very significant development both for the Indian community in the UAE and for the India-UAE bilateral relationship, with Prime Minister Modi inaugurating Abu Dhabi's very first Hindu temple, the BAPS Swaminarayan Mandir, a grand temple that has been built at a cost of 700 crore rupees. I'm talking to Ambassador Meera Shankar and Professor Swaran Singh about the significance of this bilateral relationship. Professor Swaran Singh, for the benefit of my viewers, I just want to share some important facts vis-a-vis this critical bilateral relationship. Now, you know, remittances we've already discussed from the Gulf countries form a very large part of the total remittance flows into India. Prime Minister Modi's first UAE visit happened in 2015. Since then, he's visited the country 7 times, 7 visits in 8 years. And that particular visit, the very first in 2015, laid the foundation of an expansive bilateral engagement that has now in fact acquired multilateral dimensions. For instance, on 10th January this year, the UAE President visited India as the chief guest for the Vibrant Gujarat Summit in Gandhinagar, made a rare speech. Earlier in 2017, the UAE President was in India as the chief guest for the Republic Day function, and also as a special invitee for our G20 summit that was held in September last year. And over the years, the leaderships of the two countries have taken multiple initiatives to take the relationship forward and also significantly to treat each other as equal partners. Now, Professor Swaran Singh, the question I want to ask you is twofold. How far have we come in this bilateral relationship since Prime Minister Modi took that initiative for the first time in 2015? And why do you think this relationship was in limbo for such a long time, perhaps ignored by previous governments?
Let me first say that we have to also look at the history of Middle East. Until the discovery of oil in 1970s, most of these were relatively unknown small towns and clans. It is the discovery of oil that suddenly made the Middle East countries and then some of these clans and kings and emirs so much more influential, capable, powerful, and economically so productive in that sense. So first of all, there has to be a different kind of relationship in the initial decades when India became independent. It may be a slight distraction, but that was also a period till 1975, till 71 to be more specific, that Pakistan was world's largest Muslim country, and sort of Pakistan had a relatively greater leverages in engaging some of these countries in Middle East than India had. And of course, over a period of time, things have clearly changed. India is now a very, very welcome country in all the Middle Eastern countries. In fact, I dare say countries that often don't see eye to eye with each other are all friendly to India, whether it is Egypt or Iran or it is Israel or Saudi Arabia or Qatar or UAE. In fact, the UAE, as you know, has conferred highest civilian award on Indian Prime Minister. So in that sense, there is a whole transformation that has happened on both sides, which creates enormous potential. So yes, UAE, which a decade back was not really the most well-known country in India, is today third largest trading partner of India. That is one part. Seventh largest investor in India. But what is significant is that it is the second largest destination for India's exports. So in that sense, the economic relationship itself it has really grown much stronger. India imports not just gas and oil, but also chemicals, a whole lot of other things. So in that sense, it's a very strong economic relationship. But because of the presence, as you said in the beginning of your program, of almost 3.5 million Indians in UAE alone, and of course about 9 million in the entire region, that societal relationship has suddenly become so much robust and visible because of economic transformation. And that is again contributing to how mutually relations can grow stronger. But we are talking of 7 visits of Indian Prime Minister, 4 visits of the President of UAE. But even his father had come to India, if you remember, in 1999, 2005 and 2012. So relation was there, but the robustness and the potential of relationship has unfolded relatively more rapidly in more recent years, because India has moved from 11th to 5th largest economy, fastest growing among largest economies, and in that sense now almost projected to be at number 3, depending on when you project that figure, which year we are going to be world largest number 3 economy. And any country that wants to look at potential investments, where to go, would look at India as a potential. Therefore, direct investment into India, foreign direct investment into India has been rising very rapidly. And so also Middle East countries transitioning towards away from fossil fuels have to look for other alternatives of building partnerships in technology, in innovation, and so on. So mutuality and the transformation makes the mutual relationship really much more robust and influential. And some of these countries have also, if you remember, have started playing role in geopolitics. So whether it is UAE or Qatar, we often notice that they are not confining themselves to just focusing on their social stability and economic development. They are also going out now and participating in how to influence regional equations and so on. And India, of course, has a whole lot of long tradition, right from post-independence times, to be very actively engaged in global affairs, regional affairs. And that again is building new kind of platforms for partnership to take that partnership forward in many areas. For example, Indian Prime Minister and President of UAE, among other things, did discuss the situation in the Red Sea or what is happening in Gaza. They feel that they are concerned and they can perhaps work in a certain fashion where they can mitigate some of these dangers. And of course, temple itself to me is a reflection of not just religious sentiments, which is of course great and pious and sublime, but we are today talking of building temples with 1,000 years of life. I mean, all of European constructions around the world in colonial states like India were aimed at 100 years kind of imagination. Today, India is trying to build structures, whether it is Ram Temple in Ayodhya or now in Abu Dhabi. We are talking of 1,000 years, not using glass or steel or any other mortar, etc. Pure stone. And I'm told in Abu Dhabi, they have put in 300 plus sensors to monitor seismic activities or temperature fluctuations. So it's a modernization of the whole architecture itself, other than, of course, taking forward India's culture. So one can look at these things from multiple perspectives. And I think this is why I'm saying this is a transformation which is going to unfold in coming years. And we will see many more of such things happening in many more other countries. And I think that is a whole new mood that Indian people around the world now are showcasing, connecting with India. India is talking of 1947 now. And that is, we are not looking at 1 year, 2 year, 5 years now. Indian leadership is talking of 1947 as the next target and becoming a developed country by that time. So the whole mood is different. I think that really sort of has a spin-off impact on Indians world over, and of course to some extent on people where they live from other nationalities. One notices that one after another, there are anecdotes being told on social media and on television how people of other nationalities are also becoming increasingly curious as to what is happening and what is happening and what impact that would have. In that sense, increasing curiosity and understanding of India, the way India is unfolding, is also becoming much more visible in that sense, whether it is a common man in the street or it is, a whole set of spectrum of world leaders. There's a global attention that is coming India's way. And in that sense, the global Aarti, I think, was a good reflection of that kind of global connect of India.
Absolutely. Very interesting analysis, sir. And you're quite right. India remains the world's fastest growing large economy. The Prime Minister has set a target for India to become a developed economy by 2047. And you're saying that does have a cascading effect on India's global relationships. Ambassador Shankar, let me come to you at this point. Since we are talking about how the economic aspect of this relationship cannot be ignored, I just want to share some facts with our viewers. Now, according to the External Affairs Ministry data, India and the UAE are amongst each other's top trading partners. You refer to this, with a bilateral trade of about $85 billion in 2022-23. Indian exports to the UAE have recorded remarkable growth, reaching $31.6 billion last year. The UAE was among the top 4 investors in India in terms of foreign direct investments in the last fiscal year. India also stands to benefit a great deal from the UAE's focus on hydrocarbons and green energy, something both of you have referred to. And the two countries signed a comprehensive economic partnership agreement in February 2022 and initiated a local currency settlement system in July of last year. Now, what I want to ask you, Ambassador Shankar, is this, that do you believe that the significance of the India-UAE bilateral relationship lies primarily in this data, the fact that we have such an important trade relationship with this country, or do you believe the geopolitical dimension is equally critical? Now, for example, we are seeing how big a role Qatar is playing in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war and all the negotiations that have taken place for the release of hostages. And we know Prime Minister Modi is headed to Qatar next. And of course, I'm going to talk about how those 8 Navy veterans were released by a Qatar court very recently, a big diplomatic win for India. So, according to you, is it primarily about the economics, the trade aspect, or do you believe geopolitics is as significant?
I think it's developing into a more comprehensive relationship. Yes, trade and economics is what I would call the fuel of the relationship. But looking beyond that, you have the, India, Israel, UAE, US partnership, which takes a broader view. And you also have the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, where, during this visit, a framework agreement has been signed between India and the UAE to carry it forward. So it's going far beyond. If you look at the agreements signed during this visit, there are also agreements between libraries and between museums. So it's also cultural. And of course, the presence of so many Indians in the UAE and in the Gulf region overall gives it added weight. Now, India has been carefully, navigating its relationships in this region. So it has good relations with Israel. It has good relations with the Gulf countries. It has good relations with Iran, with Saudi Arabia. So many opposite poles, who are antagonistic to each other, and yet India has managed to balance its relations with each of these countries in the region without it being at the cost of the other. It's a difficult act, very delicate act, but so far it has been moving well. I think that, the Middle East overall is going to be important for India because we are, as I said, going to be one of the larger importers in fact, perhaps the IAEA says, not IAEA, IEA, the International Energy Agency, says that India will probably become the largest importer of fossil fuel in the world in another 10 years or so. And for the Middle East also, they're looking at alternative markets. And then you're looking at this whole possibility of a green hydrogen economy, where again, the Middle East is, some of these countries are positioning themselves as major players because they have vast tracts of desert land. You need a lot of land for solar, and also have plenty of sunshine to be able to actually develop green hydrogen on an economic scale. So I think we are looking at very interesting possibilities. Following the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which was signed last year, trade has grown 16%, as you said, to $85 billion, a big increase in Indian exports. And now an important initiative during this visit is the launch of the Bharat Mart in the UAE, which will be like a trade zone, providing warehousing and display facilities for Indian small and medium scale companies to be able to export more, not just to the UAE, but also beyond. I think that's an important initiative. The other is the bilateral investment treaty, which has been signed during this visit. And then the agreements on digital infrastructure cooperation and cooperation on digital financial architecture. So we are looking at linkage between the UPI payments interface and the digital payments interface of the UAE. I think all these are going to help build a very substantial relationship between the two countries looking into the future. I think there's also a strategic element, if you will. You know, the UAE is one of the countries which has opened relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords. And all these countries, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and others, who had very close defense and security ties with Pakistan, actually have shifted ground. And many look to India to play a larger role in providing net security in this very important region, which provides energy for the entire world. So I think it goes beyond the economic to the strategic. I think that's an area where we still have to build the muscles of security cooperation. But I think we are putting building blocks in place. And I think that the relationship will be a more comprehensive one, not just in the economic field, but in the cultural field and in the strategic field too.
Just been released by the Ministry of External Affairs. I will share that with my viewers. We also have Ambassador Virender Gupta joining us on the show now. Before I go across to our new guest and read out some excerpts from the joint statement, I need to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll continue this conversation on the other side.
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है Money9। आजादी पैसे की, अभी डाउनलोड करें।
From fragile 5 to top 5, from a laggard to a leader, India under Modi has reimagined the world order. Presenting the second edition of TV9, What India Thinks Today. Summit theme, India poised for the next big leap. Listen to Prime Minister Modi unveil his vision for Viksit Bharat at News9 Global Summit, a TV9 network initiative.
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface but not the living people?
It's probably the best kept secret in India.
Family-owned business, which has been extremely clinical in their approach. They have not hesitated ever to kill their darlings.
Typical to a South Indian business empire, I think they've shunned the limelight almost deliberately.
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface but not the living people?
वर्ष 2070 तक भारत नेट जीरो का लक्ष्य हासिल करेगा.
There is certainly a wall of capital coming into the clean tech, climate tech space, not just in India but across the world.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Welcome back. You're watching Global Lens on News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna. We're talking about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day visit to the UAE and the inauguration of Abu Dhabi's first Hindu temple, which happened just a short while ago. We are waiting, in fact, for the Prime Minister's speech there to commence any minute now. As I said before going into this break, I'm now joined by Ambassador Virender Gupta, former Indian diplomat. On the show, Ambassador Gupta, welcome to Global Lens. The two sides have issued a joint statement. It's a very, very long and detailed statement. I will just quickly read out some of the excerpts. Now, one paragraph in particular that leapt out at me as being significant is that the two leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Zayed, welcomed the MOU for the creation of an intergovernmental framework between India and the UAE on the India-Middle East-Europe economic corridor. Even though there have been some concerns that it's been stalled because of the Israel-Hamas war, but at least, you know, between these two countries, some step forward has been taken. The two leaders discussed the bilateral relationship, which has now been formally elevated to a comprehensive strategic partnership. The statement says they express satisfaction on the progress achieved in various sectors. The two leaders witnessed the exchange of the following: bilateral investment treaty, intergovernmental framework, as I said, agreement on the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, and MOU for cooperation on digital infrastructure projects, MOU in the field of electricity interconnection and trade, MOU for cooperation with the National Maritime Heritage Complex at Lothal in Gujarat, cooperation protocol between the National Library and Archives of the two countries, agreement on interlinking of the instant payment systems UPI and AANI, and agreement on interlinking domestic debit and credit cards. The two leaders then endorsed efforts from both sides to strengthen the strong economic and commercial cooperation and explore new areas of collaboration. Your first thoughts on this joint statement that has just come out?
Well, it just reflects a very comprehensive, and you said a strategic relationship that India and UAE have evolved into. I think what we are seeing is a totally unprecedented new ground in terms of India's relationship with Gulf countries. UAE is one of our major partners, one of our major trading partners. We have trade running into about $80-90 billion per annum. Energy supplier. And the joint statement reflects a very comprehensive, a whole range of issues on which both countries would be cooperating at the government level. An entire framework is being created, and I think this is good boding for India, because I think under Prime Minister Modi's watch, one very remarkable thing has happened, which wasn't the case earlier, that India has paid a lot of attention to strengthening its ties with the countries in the Middle East, with the countries in the Gulf. And I think it's rightly been recognized that we have very key critical interests in the Gulf countries, not only in terms of Gulf being our major energy supplier, but also a very large number of Indians working in the Gulf countries. And I think that is a major source of remittance for India. So whichever way you look at, I think Middle East is not just our near neighborhood, but also there are critical interests that India has. And Prime Minister Modi has taken steps to secure good ties with UAE, with Saudi Arabia, with Qatar, with Oman. We always had very good relationship. So I think whatever is happening is extremely good for the diversification and optimization of India's ties in the global community.
Indeed, and what we're witnessing today is a very significant milestone in this bilateral relationship between India and the UAE, with Abu Dhabi getting its first Hindu temple. It's being inaugurated. It has been inaugurated by India's Prime Minister. Half of the land was donated by the President of the UAE. Okay, the Prime Minister started speaking. Let's listen in.
His Excellency Sheikh Nayan Al Mubarak, पूज्य महंत स्वामी जी महाराज, भारत, यूएई और विश्व के विभिन्न देशों से आए अतिथिगण और दुनिया के कोने कोने से इस आयोजन से जुड़े मेरे भाइयों एवं बहनों, आज यूनाइटेड अरब अमीरात की धरती ने मानवीय इतिहास का एक नया स्वर्णिम अध्याय लिखा है। आज अबू धाबी में भव्य और दिव्य मंदिर का लोकार्पण हो रहा है। इस पल के पीछे वर्षों की मेहनत लगी है। इसमें वर्षों पुराना सपना जुड़ा हुआ है और इसमें भगवान स्वामीनारायण का आशीर्वाद जुड़ा है। आज प्रमुख स्वामी जिस दिव्य लोक में होंगे, उनकी आत्मा जहां होगी वहां प्रसन्नता का अनुभव कर रही होगी। पूज्य प्रमुख स्वामी के साथ मेरा नाता एक प्रकार से पिता पुत्र का नाता रहा। मेरे लिए एक पितृतुल्य भाव से जीवन के एक लंबे कालखंड तक उनका सानिध्य मिलता रहा, उनके आशीर्वाद मिलते रहे। और शायद कुछ लोगों को सुनकर आश्चर्य होगा कि मैं सीएम था तब भी, पीएम था तब भी, अगर कोई चीज उनको पसंद नहीं आती थी तो मुझे स्पष्ट शब्दों में मार्गदर्शन करते थे। और जब दिल्ली में अक्षरधाम का निर्माण हो रहा था तो उनके आशीर्वाद से मैं शिलान्यास कार्यक्रम में था। तब तो मैं राजनीति में भी कुछ नहीं था। और उस दिन मैंने कहा था कि गुरु की हम बहुत तारीफ तो करते रहते हैं, लेकिन कभी सोचा है कि किसी गुरु ने कहा कि यमुना के तट पर अपना भी कोई स्थान हो और शिष्य रूपी प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज ने अपने गुरु की उस इच्छा को परिपूर्ण कर दिया था। आज मैं भी उसी एक शिष्य भाव से यहां आपके सामने उपस्थित हूं कि आज प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज का सपना हम पूरा कर पाए हैं। आज बसंत पंचमी का पवित्र त्योहार भी है, पूज्य शास्त्री जी महाराज की जन्म जयंती भी है। ये वसंत पंचमी, ये पर्व मां सरस्वती का पर्व है। मां सरस्वती यानी बुद्धि और विवेक की मानवीय प्रज्ञा और चेतना की देवी। ये मानवीय प्रज्ञा ही है जिसने हमें सहयोग, सामंजस्य, समन्वय और सौहार्द जैसे आदर्शों को जीवन में उतारने की समझ दी है। मुझे आशा है कि मंदिर भी मानवता के लिए, बेहतर भविष्य के लिए वसंत का स्वागत करेगा। ये मंदिर पूरी दुनिया के लिए सांप्रदायिक सौहार्द और वैश्विक एकता का प्रतीक बनेगा। भाइयों और बहनों, यूएई के मिनिस्टर ऑफ टॉलरेंस हिज एक्सेलेंसी शेख नायान अल मुबारक यहां विशेष तौर पर उपस्थित है और उन्होंने भाव भी जो व्यक्त किए, जो बातें हमारे सामने रखी, वो हमारे उन सपनों को मजबूत करने का उनके शब्दों में उन्होंने वर्णन किया है। मैं उनका आभारी हूं। साथियों, इस मंदिर के निर्माण में यूएई की सरकार की जो भूमिका रही, उसकी जितनी तारीफ की जाए उतनी कम है। लेकिन इस भव्य मंदिर का स्वप्न साकार करने में अगर सबसे बड़ा सहयोग किसी का है तो मेरे ब्रदर हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद बिन जायद का है। मुझे पता है कि प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ यूएई की पूरी गवर्नमेंट ने कितने बड़े दिल से करोड़ों भारतवासियों की इच्छा को पूरा किया है। और इन्होंने सिर्फ यहां नहीं, 140 करोड़ हिंदुस्तानियों के दिल को जीत लिया है। मैं इस मंदिर के विचार से लेकर एक प्रकार से प्रमुख स्वामी जी के स्वप्न से लेकर के, स्वप्न बाद में विचार में परिवर्तित हुआ, यानी विचार से लेकर इसके साकार होने तक पूरी यात्रा में इससे जुड़ा रहा हूं। ये मेरा सबसे बड़ा सौभाग्य है। और इसलिए मैं जानता हूं कि हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद बिन जायद की उदारता के लिए धन्यवाद ये शब्द भी बहुत छोटा लगता है। इतना बड़ा उन्होंने काम किया। मैं चाहता हूं उनके इस व्यक्तित्व को, भारत यूएई रिश्तों की गहराई को केवल यूएई और भारत के लोग ही नहीं बल्कि पूरा विश्व भी जाने। मुझे याद है जब मैं 2015 में यूएई में यहां आया था और तब मैंने हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद से इस मंदिर के विचार पर चर्चा की थी। मैंने भारत के लोगों की इच्छा उनके सामने रखी तो उन्होंने पलक झपकते ही उसी पल मेरे प्रस्ताव के लिए हां कर दिया। उन्होंने मंदिर के लिए बहुत कम समय में ही इतनी बड़ी जमीन भी उपलब्ध करवाई। यही नहीं, मंदिर से जुड़े एक और विषय का समाधान किया। मैं साल 2018 में जब दोबारा यूएई आया था, या संतों ने मुझे जिसका ब्रह्मविहारी स्वामी जी ने अभी वर्णन किया, मंदिर के 2 मॉडल दिखाए। एक मॉडल भारत की प्राचीन वैदिक शैली पर आधारित भव्य मंदिर का था जो हम देख रहे हैं। दूसरा एक सामान्य सा मॉडल था जिसमें बाहर से कोई हिंदू धार्मिक चिन्ह नहीं थे। संतों ने मुझे कहा कि यूएई की सरकार जिस मॉडल को स्वीकार करेगी उसी पर आगे काम होगा। जब यह सवाल हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद के पास गया तो उनकी सोच साफ, एकदम साफ थी। उनका कहना था कि अबू धाबी में जो मंदिर बने वो अपने पूरे वैभव और गौरव के साथ बने। वे चाहते थे कि यहां सिर्फ मंदिर बने ही नहीं बल्कि वो मंदिर जैसा दिखे भी। साथियों, ये छोटी बात नहीं है, बहुत बड़ी बात है। यहां सिर्फ मंदिर बने ही नहीं लेकिन वो मंदिर जैसा दिखे भी। भारत से बंधुत्व की ये भावना वाकई हमारी बहुत बड़ी पूंजी है। हम इस मंदिर के में जो भव्यता दिख रही है उसमें हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद की विशाल सोच की भी झलक है। अब तक जो यूएई बुर्ज खलीफा, फ्यूचर म्यूजियम, शेख जायद मस्जिद और दूसरी हाईटेक बिल्डिंग के लिए जाना जाता था, अब उसकी पहचान में एक और सांस्कृतिक अध्याय जुड़ गया है। मुझे विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में यहां बड़ी संख्या में श्रद्धालु आएंगे। इससे यूएई आने वाले लोगों की संख्या भी बढ़ेगी और पीपल टू पीपल कनेक्ट भी बढ़ेगा। मैं पूरे भारत और विश्व भर में रहने वाले करोड़ों भारतवासियों की ओर से प्रेसिडेंट हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद को और यूएई सरकार को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। मैं आप सबसे प्रार्थना करता हूं, हम सब यूएई के प्रेसिडेंट को यहां से स्टैंडिंग ओवेशन दें। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मैं यूएई के लोगों का भी उनके सहयोग के लिए हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। साथियों, भारत और यूएई की दोस्ती को आज पूरी दुनिया में आपसी विश्वास और सहयोग के एक उदाहरण के रूप में देखा जाता है। खासकर बीते वर्षों में हमारे संबंधों ने एक नई ऊंचाई हासिल की है, लेकिन भारत अपने इन रिश्तों को केवल वर्तमान संदर्भ में ही नहीं देखता। हमारे लिए इन रिश्तों की जड़ें हजारों साल पुरानी है। अरब जगत सैकड़ों वर्ष पहले भारत और यूरोप के बीच व्यापार में एक ब्रिज की भूमिका निभाता था। मैं जिस गुजरात से आता हूं, वहां के व्यापारियों के लिए, हमारे पूर्वजों के लिए तो अरब जगत व्यापारिक रिश्तों का प्रमुख केंद्र होता था। सभ्यताओं के इस समागम से ही नई संभावनाओं का जन्म होता है। इसी संगम से कला, साहित्य और संस्कृति की नई धाराएं निकलती है। इसलिए अबू धाबी में बना ये भव्य मंदिर इसलिए इतना महत्वपूर्ण है। इस मंदिर ने हमारे प्राचीन रिश्तों में नई सांस्कृतिक ऊर्जा भर दी है। साथियों, अबू धाबी का ये विशाल मंदिर केवल एक उपासना स्थली नहीं है, ये मानवता की साझी विरासत का शेयर्ड हेरिटेज का प्रतीक है। ये भारत और अरब के लोगों के आपसी प्रेम का भी प्रतीक है। इसमें भारत यूएई के रिश्तों का एक आध्यात्मिक प्रतिबिंब भी है। इस अद्भुत निर्माण के लिए मैं बीएपीएस संस्था और उनके सदस्यों की सराहना करता हूं, हरिभक्तों की सराहना करता हूं। बीएपीएस संस्था के लोगों द्वारा, हमारे पूज्य संतों के द्वारा पूरे विश्व में मंदिर बनाए गए हैं। इन मंदिरों में जितना ध्यान वैदिक बारीकियों का रखा जाता है, उतनी ही आधुनिकता भी उसमें झलकती है। कठोर प्राचीन नियमों का पालन करते हुए आप आधुनिक जगत से कैसे जुड़ सकते हैं, स्वामीनारायण संन्यास परंपरा इसका उदाहरण है। आपका प्रबंध कौशल, व्यवस्था संचालन और उसके साथ साथ हर श्रद्धालु को लेकर संवेदनशीलता, हर कोई इससे बहुत कुछ सीख सकता है। ये सब भगवान स्वामीनारायण की कृपा का ही परिणाम है। मैं इस महान अवसर पर भगवान स्वामीनारायण के चरणों में भी प्रणाम करता हूं। मैं आप सभी को और देश विदेश के सभी श्रद्धालुओं को बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, ये समय भारत के अमृतकाल का समय है। ये हमारी आस्था और संस्कृति के लिए भी अमृतकाल का समय है। और अभी पिछले महीने ही अयोध्या में भव्य राम मंदिर का सदियों पुराना सपना पूरा हुआ है। रामलला अपने भवन में विराजमान हुए हैं। पूरा भारत और हर भारतीय उस प्रेम में, उस भाव में अभी तक डूबा हुआ है। और अभी मेरे मित्र ब्रह्मविहारी स्वामी कह रहे थे कि मोदी जी तो सबसे बड़े पुजारी है। मैं जानता नहीं हूं मैं मंदिरों की पुजारी की योग्यता रखता हूं या नहीं रखता हूं, लेकिन मैं इस बात का गर्व अनुभव करता हूं कि मैं मां भारती का पुजारी हूं। परमात्मा ने मुझे जितना समय दिया है उसकी हर पल, और परमात्मा ने जो शरीर दिया है उसका कण कण सिर्फ और सिर्फ मां भारती के लिए है। एक 140 करोड़ देशवासी मेरे आराध्य देव हैं। साथियों, अयोध्या के हमारे उस परम आनंद को आज अबू धाबी में मिली खुशी की लहर ने और बढ़ा दिया है। और मेरा सौभाग्य है ये कि मैं पहले अयोध्या में भव्य श्री राम मंदिर और फिर अब अबू धाबी में इस मंदिर का साक्षी बना है। साथियों, हमारे वेदों ने कहा है, एकम सत्य विप्रा बहुधा वदंती, एकम सत्य विप्रा बहुधा वदंती, अर्थात एक ही ईश्वर को, एक ही सत्य को विद्वान लोग अलग अलग तरह से बताते हैं। ये दर्शन भारत की मूल चेतना का हिस्सा है। इसलिए हम स्वभाव से ही न केवल सबको स्वीकार करते हैं, बल्कि सबका स्वागत भी करते हैं। हमें विविधता में बैर नहीं दिखता, हमें विविधता ही विशेषता लगती है। आज वैश्विक संघर्षों और चुनौतियों के सामने ये विचार हमें एक विश्वास देता है, मानवता में हमारे विश्वास को मजबूत करता है। इस मंदिर में आपको पग पग पर विविधता में विश्वास की ये झलक दिखेगी। मंदिर की दीवारों पर हिंदू धर्म के साथ साथ इजिप्ट की हायरोग्लिफ और बाइबल की, कुरान की कहानियां भी उकेरी गई है। मैं देख रहा था, मंदिर में प्रवेश करते ही वॉल ऑफ हार्मनी के दर्शन होते हैं। इसे हमारे बोहरा मुस्लिम समाज के भाइयों ने बनवाया है। इसके बाद इस बिल्डिंग का इंप्रेसिव 3D एक्सपीरियंस होता है। इसे पारसी समाज ने शुरू करवाया है। यहां लंगर की जिम्मेदारी के लिए हमारे सिख भाई बहन सामने आए हैं। मंदिर के निर्माण में हर धर्म संप्रदाय के लोगों ने काम किया है। मुझे ये भी बताया गया है कि मंदिर के 7 स्तंभ या मीनारे यूएई के 7 अमीरात के प्रतीक है। यही भारत के लोगों का स्वभाव भी है। हम जहां जाते हैं वहां की संस्कृति को, वहां के मूल्यों को सम्मान भी देते हैं और उन्हें आत्मसात भी करते हैं। और ये देखना कितना सुखद है कि सबके सम्मान का यही भाव हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद के जीवन में भी साफ दिखता है। मेरे ब्रदर, मेरे मित्र, शेख मोहम्मद बिन जायद का भी विजन है, वी आर ऑल ब्रदर्स। उन्होंने अबू धाबी में हाउस ऑफ अब्राहम फैमिली बनाया। इस एक कॉम्प्लेक्स में मस्जिद भी है, चर्च भी है और सिनगॉग भी है। और अब अबू धाबी में भगवान स्वामीनारायण का ये मंदिर विविधता में एकता के उस विचार को नया विस्तार दे रहा है। साथियों, आज इस भव्य और पवित्र जगह से मैं एक और खुशखबरी देना चाहता हूं। आज सुबह यूएई के उपराष्ट्रपति हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद बिन राशिद ने दुबई में भारतीय श्रमिकों के लिए एक अस्पताल बनाने के लिए जमीन देने की घोषणा की है। मैं उनका और मेरे ब्रदर हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद बिन जायद का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। साथियों, हमारे वेद हमें सिखाते हैं कि समानो मंत्रः समिति समानी समानम मनः सह चित्रम एषाम। अर्थात हमारे विचार एकजुट हो, हमारे मन एक दूसरे से जुड़े, हमारे संकल्प एकजुट हो। मानवीय एकता का यह आह्वान ही हमारे आध्यात्म का मूल भाव रहा है। हमारे मंदिर इन शिक्षाओं के, इन संकल्पों के केंद्र रहे हैं। इन मंदिरों में हम एक स्वर में ये घोष करते हैं कि प्राणियों में सद्भावना हो, विश्व का कल्याण हो। मंदिरों में वेद की जिन ऋचाओं का पाठ होता है वो हमें सिखाती हैं वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, अर्थात पूरी पृथ्वी ही हमारा परिवार है। इस विचार को लेकर आज भारत विश्व शांति के अपने मिशन के लिए प्रयास कर रहा है। भारत की प्रेसिडेंसी में इस बार G20 देशों ने वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर के संकल्प को और मजबूत बनाया है, आगे बढ़ाया है। हमारे ये प्रयास वन सन, वन वर्ल्ड, वन ग्रिड जैसे अभियानों को दिशा दे रहे हैं। सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया का भाव लेकर भारत वन अर्थ, वन हेल्थ इस मिशन के लिए भी काम कर रहा है। हमारी संस्कृति, हमारी आस्था हमें विश्व कल्याण के इन संकल्पों का हौसला देती है। भारत इस दिशा में सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास और सबका प्रयास के मंत्र पर काम कर रहा है। मुझे विश्वास है कि अबू धाबी के मंदिर की मानवीय प्रेरणा हमारे इन संकल्पों को ऊर्जा देगी, उन्हें साकार करेगी। इसी के साथ आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं। मैं इस भव्य दिव्य विशाल मंदिर को पूरी मानवता को समर्पित करता हूं। पूज्य महंत स्वामी के श्री चरणों में प्रणाम करता हूं। पूज्य प्रमुख स्वामी का पुण्य स्मरण करते हुए मैं श्रद्धापूर्वक नमन करता हूं और सभी हरि भक्तों को जय श्री स्वामीनारायण।
माँ भारती के परम पुत्र और माँ भारती के परम पुजारी आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, आपने अपने संबोधन से इस ऐतिहासिक अवसर पर हम सबको बहुत बहुत प्रेरित किया है। हम आपके बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं, बहुत बहुत कृतज्ञ हैं। मंदिर का अर्थ है भगवान का घर, जहां भगवान का दिव्य निवास है, ऐसा एक परम आध्यात्मिकता का स्थान। जी हां,
इस पल के पीछे वर्षों की मेहनत लगी है। इसमें वर्षों पुराना सपना जुड़ा हुआ है और इसमें भगवान स्वामीनारायण का आशीर्वाद जुड़ा है। आज प्रमुख स्वामी जिस दिव्य लोक में होंगे, उनकी आत्मा जहां होगी वहां प्रसन्नता का अनुभव कर रही होगी। पूज्य प्रमुख स्वामी के साथ मेरा नाता एक प्रकार से पिता पुत्र का नाता रहा। मेरे लिए एक पितृतुल्य भाव से जीवन के एक लंबे कालखंड तक उनका सानिध्य मिलता रहा, उनके आशीर्वाद मिलते रहे। और शायद कुछ लोगों को सुनकर आश्चर्य होगा कि मैं सीएम था तब भी, पीएम था तब भी, अगर कोई चीज उनको पसंद नहीं आती थी तो मुझे स्पष्ट शब्दों में मार्गदर्शन करते थे। और जब दिल्ली में अक्षरधाम का निर्माण हो रहा था तो उनके आशीर्वाद से मैं शिलान्यास कार्यक्रम में था। तब तो मैं राजनीति में भी कुछ नहीं था। और उस दिन मैंने कहा था कि गुरु की हम बहुत तारीफ तो करते रहते हैं, लेकिन कभी सोचा है कि किसी गुरु ने कहा कि यमुना के तट पर अपना भी कोई स्थान हो और शिष्य रूपी प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज ने उसी एक शिष्य भाव से यहां आपके सामने उपस्थित कि आज प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज का सपना हम पूरा कर पाए हैं। आज बसंत पंचमी का पवित्र त्योहार भी है, पूज्य शास्त्री जी महाराज की जन्म जयंती भी है। ये बसंत पंचमी, ये पर्व मां सरस्वती का पर्व है। मां सरस्वती यानी बुद्धि और विवेक की मानवीय प्रज्ञा और चेतना की देवी। ये मानवीय प्रज्ञा ही है जिसने हमें सहयोग, सामंजस्य, समन्वय और सौहार्द जैसे आदर्शों को जीवन में उतारने की समझ दी है। मुझे आशा है कि मंदिर भी मानवता के लिए, बेहतर भविष्य के लिए बसंत का स्वागत करेगा। ये मंदिर पूरी दुनिया के लिए सांप्रदायिक सौहार्द और वैश्विक एकता का प्रतीक बनेगा। भाइयों और बहनों, यूएई के मिनिस्टर ऑफ टॉलरेंस हिज एक्सेलेंसी शेख नायान अल मुबारक यहां विशेष तौर पर उपस्थित है और उन्होंने भाव भी जो व्यक्त किए, जो बातें हमारे सामने रखी, वह हमारे उन सपनों को मजबूत करने का उनके शब्दों में उन्होंने वर्णन किया है। मैं उनका आभारी हूं। साथियों, इस मंदिर के निर्माण में यूएई की सरकार की जो भूमिका रही, उसकी जितनी तारीफ की जाए उतनी कम है। लेकिन इस भव्य मंदिर का स्वप्न साकार करने में अगर सबसे बड़ा सहयोग किसी का है तो मेरे ब्रदर हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद बिन जायद का है। मुझे पता है कि प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ यूएई की पूरी गवर्नमेंट ने कितने बड़े दिल से करोड़ों भारतवासियों की इच्छा को पूरा किया है और इन्होंने सिर्फ यहां नहीं 140 करोड़ हिंदुस्तानियों के दिल को जीत लिया है। मैं इस मंदिर के विचार से लेकर एक प्रकार से प्रमुख स्वामी जी के स्वप्न से लेकर के स्वप्न बाद में विचार में परिवर्तित हुआ, यानी